Hey, hi, Prasad.
Hi. Good evening. Please go on.
No, I haven't got the email, Prasad, regarding the passcode I
Uh,
have
Dear,
had.
we have sent it to everybody who has paid the fees and who have for whom we have sent an onboarding email. If you have not received it, it might have probably gone to the spam folder. But we have sent
Okay.
one single email to everyone. Apart from you, only you asked for a passcode calling me. Nobody else has called me. What does it mean? It means that everybody else also has received a passcode. You are also in that list. If you have not received it, no big deal. I've shared the passcode with you. The passcode would remain same throughout the batch. You don't have to worry
Okay.
about it.
And what about the meeting records and all?
We have sent out an onboarding email a couple of days back. Can you call me offline to discuss all of this? Let's avoid all this
Yeah.
discussion in the training session. Call me tomorrow
Sure, sure.
after 11 on the business number that you have called. Okay?
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes, or maybe one more minute for others to dial in. Guys, we've enabled passcode today, so people might be searching for passcode at the last minute.
Hello, Prasad Sumesh here.
Yes, Umesh, go on.
Can I ask you a question now?
Yes, please.
Okay, yesterday we were discussing that category part, user category. I think we deviate from there. Is there any chance to be have
Yeah,
a small?
yeah, we didn't cover it yet. We'll be covering
Okay,
it in
okay,
detail today.
okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's in the agenda for today.
When I have few questions, I'll ask you later. Then, thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, guys. So where did we stop yesterday? We created a user. We created user, and even before I get started with the actual topic for today, guys, let me open up a couple of screens. Let me open up, and I request all of you to pull out the onboarding email. Kirtika, if you have not received an onboarding email, don't panic. Just pay attention to what I'm explaining in a session. You would receive it in case it is missed, or if it is in your spam box or our outbox. That's okay. We will resend it. Okay. For others, all others, can you please pull out the onboarding email once and keep it handy? I'm going to explain few quite important things that you need to know about how to use the onboarding email. I'll wait for 30 seconds for everybody to pull out the onboarding email. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, guys. So, in that onboarding email that we have sent you, there is a Zoom meeting link and there is a passcode as well to attend the training sessions. The same Zoom meeting link and a passcode will work for the entire 2 month duration. Until we're done with the course, the same Zoom link and the passcode would work. Point number one. Point number two, if you scroll down in that onboarding email, you will be able to see 3 Google Drive links. Can you see them, guys? One of you please confirm if you're able to see 3 Google Drive links in the email.
Yes, Prasad.
Okay, perfect. And when you click on those 3 links, one of those links will give you access to this particular folder. Please pay 200% attention, guys. Don't think that Prasad is wasting 5 minutes of my 5 or 10 minutes of my critical time here. It's quite important. Please pay 200% attention. Okay, please pay 200% attention. And one of the link in that onboarding email will give you access, will bring you into this particular folder. And in this folder, we will be uploading the session recordings on a daily basis. Whatever sessions that we are doing for your batch, we are recording them, right? And we give you lifetime access to them. So whatever sessions that we are recording for your batch, we are doing for your batch, would be uploaded to this particular folder as soon as the batch is done. So after today's session is done, I would be uploading the session recording to this folder. And at the moment I upload the session recording to this particular folder, and at the moment you upload a recording to this folder, so one thing is, the moment you upload a recording, Google Drive will, the moment you upload a recording, Google Drive will try to process it. And what a Google Drive would do was initially it would try to make a 360p version available to be played. Okay, so initially what it would do, the moment I upload a recording, first up, in the moment I upload a recording in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it would make this 360p recording available. So when you see a recording probably at 10 p.m., immediately half an hour or 1 hour after I upload it, you might only see 360. Okay, but don't panic. And it's just that Google Drive is still in the process of converting the HD recording. Okay, the moment I upload a recording, initially Google Drive will make 360p available, and after few minutes or few hours, 720p also would be available. So I have the sessions that we are recording are of high quality resolution, so you would be seeing a 720p in there. Okay, and you would be having lifetime access to the session recordings, guys. Absolutely no need to download. Please don't ask for download access, and even if you ask for it, we're not going to give it under any circumstances. So don't request it, and don't hear a no from us. We never ever give download access to anyone under any circumstances. No two things about it. And another link in the onboarding email would bring you into this particular folder. And in this folder, you will be able to see all the material that I'm using in the sessions, whatever PPTs or the supporting files that I use in the sessions, you would be able to find them in this particular folder. You can download them and have a copy. And the third link in the onboarding email will bring you into this Google Drive sheet. And this is the most important part. See, we would be using demo instances from Oracle. You see demo instances. These are the demo instances from Oracle that we use for the training purposes. And we try to make at least a couple of instances available in the sheet at any point in time. And so why do we make at least 2 instances available? So that if one instance is not responding well, you can try out the other one. Okay, you can try out the other one. And second important point is when sometimes when you come into this particular sheet, and whenever you need to practice, guys, whenever you want to practice, you always have to hit this link real time. You always have to hit this link real time. And you see whatever are the instances that are available here, only those are the instances that are working at that point in time. And when you come into this sheet, and if you see that there is, if you see that there is one instance marked in red, what exactly does it mean, guys? Can you guess? It basically means it's not working. Yeah, it's not working, and please don't use it. That's an expectation. So I often get students saying that, Prasad, I'm trying EVWB instance, it's not working. Dear, we know that very well, and that is precisely why we have marked it in red. Okay, so don't use the ones marked in red. Only the ones in green would work. And the next important point is you see that there's an instance marked in green. You click on the URL that would open up the instance. That would open up the instance. And by default, when you click on a link, what do you see, guys? You will be able to see a sign-in page. And in Fusion Cloud, remember, these are the demo instances that we are using from Oracle. These are the demo instances that we are using from Oracle. And in the demo instances that we get from Oracle, you would have one user for finance, one for SCM. You have one user for finance, one for SCM, but only for HCM you have users from 1 to 20, as I mentioned yesterday. So when you want to practice anything related to HCM, which is what we are interested in, you can use, I've given username as HCM IMPL 17 here. That doesn't mean that is the only HCM IMPL user you have. You have users from 1 to 20. I just gave one random user there, which is IMPL17. But you can try any other user. You can try any other user. You have HCM IMPL17, you have 18, you have 19, and you have 20. Okay, similarly, you have users from 1 to 20. And what is it that you have to do? You just need to copy that username, put it in here. And we need to copy the password. And when you copy paste the password, you copy the password, guys, and you paste that password here. You paste that password here in a notepad. Okay, so in a notepad, you copy and paste the password, guys. Copy and paste the password in a notepad to verify whether you have actually copied the password or not. And once it is copied, you go ahead and pick it up from here, and you go ahead and paste it in the password sign in. Okay, and this is a happy path. When an instance marked in green, you should be able to access the instance URL, and you should be able to log in with that username and password. But sometimes what would happen is these demo instances are not only used by you and me, but it is used by plenty of other users as well. So sometimes, yes, we know the right password, and when we try to log in, we use the right password. But there could be some other user, not from Geeks or not from here. Some other user might try to access the Fusion Cloud instance link. And they might try to log in as HCM IMPL17 user itself, not with the right password, because that guy doesn't know the updated password. So he might try with an old password, and he might try to sign in. Does it work, guys? If you try to log in with the wrong password, does it work? Yes or no, please? Common sense that it doesn't work, right? So what would happen if a person tries to log in? With a wrong password more than 5 times? What would happen, guys?
It gets locked, Prasad.
Yeah, it gets locked. Unfortunately, I logged in with the right password. I go ahead and sign out. And let's try this not on 17, maybe on 20. Okay, let's try it on 20. Okay, and I try to log in with the wrong password more than 5 times. I'm trying to log in with the wrong password. I tried it 3 times. And before I try the 4th or the 5th time, what I would do, I logged in as HCM IMPL17 right here. So I go into Tools, and I also go into Security Console. And I go ahead and search for HCM IMPL20. And when you search for this particular user, you see the user, is it in locked state, guys? Locked, yes or no here?
No.
It is not locked yet. And if I go ahead and try to use the wrong password 4th time and a 5th time, what do you notice now? Assume that different people from different countries or different regions try to log in with the wrong password for a specific user more than 5 times. A user gets locked. So what does a user getting locked here means? User getting locked here means at this point, one of you would try to log in. At this point, let's say Sumesh wants to practice, and he went into our Google Drive sheet. He could see that Prasad has mentioned this instance in green. He is able to see HCM IMPL. Assume that we have marked 20 here. So he could see that Prasad has marked 20 here. So he would go ahead and pick up 20 here, type it in, and he would enter this password, and he would enter it here and click on sign in. Does it work, guys? It's not working. Is Sumesh not picking up the right password for this particular user? It is the actual password. But why is he still not able to log in? Because that user is locked. So you run into this issue very often, guys. That's why I'm explaining all this right at the beginning when you are with a fresh mind, because you need to remember this. So when this happens, what is it that Sumesh can do? Two things. He can send a snapshot of this, send it to Prasad, and say, Prasad, the password that you have given is not working. Can you please check? And I might be in one meeting or the other, and I might take a couple of hours to respond. But you lose that precious time, right, that you want to practice. So instead of reaching Prasad immediately, you face authentication failed error. What are the few things that I want you to do? You are getting authentication failed because of two reasons. It could be because of two reasons. What's the first reason? First obvious reason we already know. Somebody would have logged that user. Okay, and the second reason could be that yes, Oracle would have changed the password of that user. That could be the second thing. And I want you to validate whether the reason is the first one or the second one. And how do you validate whether the reason is the first one, whether the user is logged or not? How do you validate, guys? What did I mention? For HCM, how many users you have? 20 users. And I might have given one user here, right? I might have given one user here, and that user would have been logged. What is it that Sumesh can do? Just to validate if this is the right password or not, or whether the problem is with a username or with a password, what he can do, instead of 20, he can try out 17 or 18 or 19, and he can see whether this password is the right one or not. Because Oracle, in the demo instances, for all the users, it uses the same password. It sets the same password. So what Sumesh should be doing, he comes in here and types in HCM 20 is not working. 20 is not working. So he would go ahead and try 19. And he would enter this password. Sign in. Would he be able to get in now? Looks like he's able to get in. What does this confirm to Sumesh? This confirms to Sumesh that somebody logged HCM 20. And all the HCM implementation users are same. So if 20 is not working, if 18 or 11 or 12 is working, just go on, get into the application with that username and go on with your practice. But if you want to use only one specific user, what else we could do? You can go into Security Console, and you should be able to see that particular user in a log state here like this. What is it that you can do? You can go ahead and unlock it as well. That particular user, you can go ahead and unlock it. And when you unlock a user, what would happen? From that point onwards, if Sumesh wants, he can go ahead and sign out as IMPL 19 and sign in as 20. But please note all the users are one and the same. So you don't have to unlock the other user. Any user that is working, you can go ahead and use them, because all HCM IMPL users are the same. And when I try to log in as HCM IMPL 20, I'm able to get in now. Clear so far, guys? Clear on how to use the onboarding email? You have session recordings, you have Google Drive, you have Sheet where you mention the Google Drive in, the Fusion Cloud instances which are working at that point in time. Use the ones that are marked in green, not the red ones. And also please note that every Saturday, midnight, not even midnight, every Saturday around 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Oracle resets a password of demo instances. Okay, every Saturday around 6 p.m. IST, Oracle resets the password of demo instances, and we receive the updated password. Sometimes Oracle only resets the password and leave the instance URL as is, but sometimes Oracle might also change the URL as well. Okay, sometimes Oracle also updates instance URL or changes the instance. Okay, so when you look at the first one, don't always think it is going to be VWB. And what is the only thing that you see different between these two links, guys? if I compare the first link and paste the second link right beneath it, what is the only thing that you see different between the two links? Only these four characters. Only these four characters are different. So when I refer to the instances, I always refer to them with these four characters. Okay, EVWD or ETAT, these are the four characters that keep changing. Rest all would remain the same. Okay, and every Saturday around 6 p.m., Oracle resets the password of these demo instances. Sometimes the instance URL also would change, and we receive updated password from vendor. We receive updated password from vendor Sunday morning. Sometimes we get it on Saturday evening itself, or usually Sunday morning by 10 a.m. IST. And the same would be updated in the sheet, and same would be updated in the sheet. So what does it mean? It means that when you try to access this sheet Saturday 8 p.m. IST, and if the password doesn't work, don't panic. It is a normal refresh cycle. Oracle would have reset the password, and as soon as we get the password from a vendor, I keep bugging the vendor from Saturday night itself, and as soon as I get it, I would be updating it in the sheet. And as soon as it is updated, you can pick up and use that particular updated password, and you can go ahead and practice it. Okay. Now we go back to the actual topic that we were talking about, guys. So
Prasad, when
yes,
they do the password reset, or they will do the instance refresh as well?
instance refresh also sometimes happens
So
once in a couple of weeks.
Okay, that means that whatever practice we are doing, configurations and all, we may lose that.
We may lose that, and you can you can practice it again and do it one more time. And usually, when we do the module configurations, when we are doing a specific module, we need the continuity of the instance. But when we switch from one module to another module, you don't need to have that continuity. Because when we do absence management, we won't be using our employees that you have created in Global HR. You can use any other seeded employee. It's one and the same.
Okay.
Okay. And okay, let's go back and what is it that we were discussing yesterday? We used EVWD instance, I believe, not ETAT. I go into that instance. I go into security console. I go to users. What's the user that we have created, guys? HCM.user1, right? We created this user, and after we created this user, we discussed what are the roles that we can assign, and we also discussed what is abstract role, what is job role, and all that. Okay, let me just pull it to the side. Yeah, we also discussed what is a abstract role, what is a job role, and we also noticed that when we assign job role to the user gets access to the screens. User gets access to the screens. User gets access to the screens, and they won't be able to see the data. So for that, we need to create a data role, and we've already seen how to create a data role yesterday. And when we create a data role again, there would be security profiles that you assign. Initially, we have assigned view all security profiles, because of which when we log in as this user, as a HR specialist, he was able to see all the legal employers and all the employees. But that would not be the case usually. Then we have seen how to create custom security profiles and restrict the data access of this user only to that specific country or a region. Okay, so we created security profile with only US1 and US2. And once I added that custom org and person security profiles, the access that this user has got has been restricted. So this is what we covered yesterday. And the first thing that I want to cover today is sometimes you might be asked to customize the role space. Sometimes you might have to. There are two things that I want to cover in the next 15 minutes. The first thing is, when we create a user and when we assign a role to the user, a user is able to see few groups in the application. When that user logs in, he's able to see few groups in the application, and within the groups, he's also able to see the pages as well, right? Now, I want to show you what is the correlation between what is the user seeing on screen And how are those pages, or let me put it this way. When I assign employee role to the user, what screens or what groups and what pages within those groups would the user be able to see? I want to help you figure out that particular bit first. Okay, so how do we do it? To keep it simple, what I would do is I'll just create another user real quick. And I'm going to call it as HCM user 2. And I'm going to just assign employee role. I'm going to just assign employee role. Save and close. I'm just trying to log into the application as that new user. Okay, it's clear, right? So far, we just created a new user, and we assign employee role. And I'm trying to log into the instance as that particular new user. User 2, welcome 123. And after you log in, what are the groups that I get to see? I get to see me, procurement, tools, others. And also within those individual groups, I'm able to see few work areas. Now, where are these coming from, guys? Where are these coming in from? Now, if I pick up this particular role, so the moment I assign this role to the user, he's able to access these groups and the work areas, right, and the pages. So that means all that logic is there in this role itself. So I go into roles and I'll search for that particular employee role. And when we search for a specific role, yes, I pick up the role that starts with Aura underscore. And after you search for an employee role, you click on the menu option, and you know this story as well, that I covered this particular bit. So when you search for a job role, you have one job role could have many duty roles assigned. So this is an abstract role, but even an abstract role would have a lot of other roles assigned as well, like a duty roles. Okay, so we covered this story yesterday. Now, after you search for a role, you click on the drop down and you click on Simulate Navigator. And when you click on Simulate Navigator, what do you see, guys? So I click on this username, I click on Simulate Navigator. And when I click on Simulate Navigator, have some patience, wait for 30 seconds. You should see a screen popping up now. Okay, you see a screen popping up. And what do we see here, guys? What do we see here? In this particular screen, you are able to see the groups. And within the groups, you are able to see the individual work areas as well. So this is a group and this is a work areas. Now, when we assign employee role to the user, does he see a group called workspace? Does he see a group called workspace here? He doesn't see it. Because within the workspace, you see that there's only one page and you see that it is locked. So when you see that there is a page that is locked, what does it mean? It means that that particular page will not be visible to the user. And if I scroll down, what is the first section that we see, guys? What is the first section that we see? We see me, right? We see me. And when we go into me section, you see for the tasks here, for the pages that we see, these are called as groups and these are the pages. For some pages, we don't see anything here, guys. For personal information, I don't see anything. Pay, I don't see anything. And time and absence, it is clear. You don't see any symbol here. What does it mean? It means that that group and those pages are visible. Can I see personal information here, guys? Yes or no? I don't see any symbol here. I'm able to see it here. And I see pay, time and absence, career and performance. pay, time and absence, career and performance, I'm able to see them here. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is you will be able to see a lock symbol. What does a lock symbol means, guys? A lock symbol means you will not be able to see it. You will not be able to see it. Okay, so lock symbol means, so let's take this one. You see a lock symbol. Lock symbol means you will not be able to see it. So if you don't have a lock symbol, that means you will be able to see it, something like volunteering. And if you scroll down, you see volunteering and all that. You see blank, you will be able to see it. If you see lock, you won't be able to see it. But there's also something called as warning here. There's also something called as only the warning. And what does warning means, guys? What does only warning means? You see directory connections, you see a warning here, you don't see a lock symbol. What does it mean? It means that this menu item is given by Oracle. This menu item is given by Oracle, and it would be available under the Me group, but it would not be enabled by default. It would not be enabled by default. So under Me, how many pages I see, guys? I see around 20 pages. I see around 20 pages here. Does that mean that these are the only 20 pages that are available in Me, guys? Not really. If you scroll down, you see a plus icon. You click on a plus icon, and when you click on a plus icon, what do you get to see? What do you get to see? You are able to see that something like a directory. Is it the one that we have seen, guys? What do you see here? You see a warning. What does it mean? It means that this is given, this would be available under Me, but it would not be enabled by default. But I can enable it if I need it. Okay. So whatever is enabled by default, you don't see anything in there. And whatever you have lock, wherever you see lock, it means that you won't be able to see them. It means that you won't be able to see them. And if you see something like a warning, that means that those options are available, but they are not enabled by default. And if I want to see them, enable them, I just have to click it and I click on save and close. Do I see a directory now? Yes or no, guys? Earlier we didn't see it, but it is enabled now. So the first bit is clear. So I think one of you asked yesterday, right? Like, how do I know which role gives access to which groups and which pages within it? So the first part is taken care of. Now let's move on to the second part. Let's say, and also remember, guys, when we assign standard roles to the users, some clients might say, that's okay, Prasad, even if we see some pages, pages like volunteering, which we don't really use, that's okay. Some clients don't really care about them. But some clients are very, very particular and they say that, Prasad, I want my employees to only see out of these 20 pages if my company uses only 4 of them. We normally don't do any volunteering activities, so I don't want to see this particular navigation option. So out of these 12 pages or out of these 20 pages, let's say a specific client wants to give their employees only 10 screens or maybe only 19. They don't want to see the volunteering. Client doesn't want their employees to see volunteering a page within the Me group. How do we achieve it, guys? See, if I use the normal employee role, what's the behavior you notice? Come on, guys, please respond. It's evening time. Let's keep it interactive so that we don't sleep. Okay. Go into security profile. So if I go ahead and assign employee role, does it give access to volunteering? Yes or no?
Yes, it gives.
It gives. But what does a client want? Client doesn't want that. So I know what is it that I need. In other words, a client wants me. In other words, client basically wants us to customize the employee role. Can I put it that way? Client wants us to customize the employee role. Because when I assign the standard employee role to the user, he's getting access to 100 pages, but client is saying they want to give access only of 95 pages to the user. Maybe he wants to exclude pages like volunteering. What are the three options that I can use to achieve this? What are the three approaches that I can follow? What's the first obvious approach that comes to your mind, guys? What's the first obvious approach that comes to your mind? Okay,
Like,
since this seeded role is giving access to 100 pages, what do you say? Okay, Prasad, let me tell you what you should do. Pick up this role, go to the roles, edit that role, take out those 5 pages from it. Right? Pretty simple, straightforward approach, yes or no, guys? I can go to that particular role. I can go to that particular role, search for the roles, edit the seeded role itself, take out 5 pages from it, and assign that standard role itself to the user. But what is the main problem with this approach, guys? Come on. What is the main problem with this approach?
So it will change for every user, right?
But that's okay. But the client doesn't really care. Client doesn't want to doesn't want any of their employees to see 95 pages. That is okay. But what is the main problem with that approach?
It's difficult to keep the track, basically.
Keep track, that is one thing. But another important thing is how frequently
Patches and upgrades doing by Oracle, we may lose that.
Absolutely. That is the point. So how frequently the application gets upgraded?
Every quarter.
Every quarter, right? So every quarter when Oracle upgrades the application, what would happen when it upgrades it from 24D to 25A? Oracle will put back that seeded employee role here. What does it mean? It means that again, when the users log in, once the application is upgraded to 25A, how many pages will they get to see again?
100.
100, because Oracle has put back that seeded role there. And obviously, our client would be searching for you or me to give us a good feedback. So what is the second approach that comes to your mind? Okay, let's not edit the seeded role. What's the second approach that comes to your mind, guys?
Make a copy and do that.
That's the third option. And what is the other option that you can think of? Create a custom role. Create a custom role from scratch. Create a new role from scratch, and search for all those 95 pages. Search for all those 95 pages and add them one by one to this custom role. Okay. Unless you have anything else to do on earth, then you can probably follow this approach. Okay. Because if you have to search for 95 pages, privileges, put together each and every role and come up with a custom role, it is definitely doable, but it is a quite tedious approach and it is not recommended. And what is the third approach that we should be doing? We should not edit a seeded role. We should not sit down and create a role from scratch because it takes a lot of effort. And the third option is what you rightly said, we should customize the seeded role. And how do we do it? Let's quickly check it. Go into roles, search for that particular role. Click on the drop down. And what is it that I should be choosing now?
Copy role.
Copy role is what I should do. We've already seen Simulate Navigator and we are doing a copy role. And when I try to do a copy role, it gives me an option to choose. It is asking me, hey Prasad, this particular role has some privileges already added. But along with those privileges, remember one role could inherit a lot of roles. Guys. So one role could have inherited a lot of roles within it. You have many levels of inheritance there. So when you make a copy, you need to decide whether you want to copy only the top role or the inherited roles as well. Whatever the roles that it inherits, do you want to copy them as well? So we usually copy the top role as well as the inherited roles so that the entire table structure gets copied over. Sorry, the entire role gets copied over. Now, the moment I copy the role, you could see that there is a role name that is generated automatically. And what does the role name say, guys? Employee
Yes.
And what is the word that you see at the end? What is the suffix that you see getting added here? GSE. Where is this coming in from, guys? Again, it is controlled from the settings. So if you go into Fusion Cloud instance, security console, and you go into administration, under administration, you go into roles. Under administration, you go into roles, and here you mention whenever you are copying a role, you can mention what is it that you want to prefix to the name and to the code, or what is it that you want to suffix. What do we see here, guys, as a suffix for a role name? GSC. And that is precisely why you see the role name and GSC. And what is the suffix for role code? Underscore GSC. And isn't that the code that you see here? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
So if you're probably doing this for, let's say you're doing this for HSBC client, what do? You would put in HSBC here. And in the case of role code, you say HSBC underscore. And in case of our role name prefix, I say HSBC space, and I go ahead and save this. Okay, role is saved. Let's go ahead and customize it again, copy it again. What is it that we should see now? We see the role name. It has moved to the beginning, and the text has been changed. So okay, so move with whatever client that you're doing implementation for. You can go ahead and change it to prefix or suffix as they wish, and that would show up here. And I go to the next screen. And here, now whenever you edit a role, guys, within a role, these are the options that you get to see. The first thing that you see is functional security policies. And this is exactly where you will be able to see all the privileges and the duty roles assigned to the user, or assigned to the role, sorry. And what is it that we need to search for here and take out? What is it that we need to search for and take out? By default, this is how it looks like. I need to search for, and if you keep scrolling down, guys, if you keep scrolling down, you will see thousands of them, guys. You will see thousands of them. So if you think you can search for one or two and take it out manually, impossible. Make use of this filter option and you search for volunteering. Now you see that there is a page, there is a privilege that you need to take off. And another very important point is, now you might say, Prasad, I can see when we go into simulate navigator of employee role, we see that they get access to volunteering page. But how do you know the privilege that is giving access to this page? Remember, when user is seeing this page through the role, that means there is some privilege that is giving access to this role, access to this screen. So the moment you click on it, you see two things there, guys. What are the two things that you see? View privileges required for menu, meaning what privilege is showing this menu option. And the second thing that you see is view roles that grant access. So if you click on view privileges required for this menu option, so what privilege is showing this? You would be able to see an option showing up there. What privilege is showing up here, guys? This privilege is showing up as this particular task on the screen. Okay, so how do you know the privilege behind that particular menu item that you see? Go to that particular menu item, click on view privileges. That would show you the privilege, and this would tell me what is the privilege that I have to take out from the role when I copy. What is it? Then that would tell me what is the privilege that I have to take out. Okay, so I choose manage volunteering. I'm going to knock it off. And what is the other thing that we see here? Apart from that option, so the first thing that you see is what privilege gives access to that. And the second thing is what roles give access to that. There are two roles that gives user access to this. One is this particular role and another one is employee role. Okay, so when I assign employee role, that's why he's able to see it. Even if you assign this role, then also user will be able to see this. So what role is giving access to this and what privilege? We are interested in the privilege. We check the privilege and we knocked it off from the custom role that I'm creating. I've deleted it. So this way, you go ahead and delete. So if user says that Prasad, please take out 5 pages that employee role is giving access to. Do you exactly know how to take out those 5 pages now, guys, from the seeded role? Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Yeah, got it, Prasad.
Okay, so you go to the simulate navigator, pick up that particular page, see the privilege, go to that particular role, search for that particular privilege, knock it off. Okay, now you go to the next screen. So in the functional security policies, you will be able to see the privileges. And in the data security policies, this is where you would be able to see the data grants. This is where you will be able to see the data grants. So for example, as an employee, this person got access to these screens, right? So when he goes into those screens, of course, he should be able to see some data within those pages, right? Meaning I'm talking about the setup related data. So those data grants would be available in the data security policies here. Remember, guys, we created a data role yesterday, and in the data role, we attached the security policies. Yes or no?
You mean data access, right?
Data access and the security profiles that we created yesterday. We initially created a data role with view all access, view all profiles, and then we changed those view all profiles to the custom profiles, right? So that is the ideal way to do it. But you can also within the role, you can get into a data security profiles, and here also you can change the data security profiles here. You can also change the data security profiles here. So whatever is the data resource or security profile that you have created, you can search for that security profile and you can add them here. But please note, this is not something that we do. We normally don't do it this way. We create a separate data role and we keep the data access separate from the roles that we create, especially the abstract or job roles. And remember the issue that we have seen on day 2, the moment we assign HR specialist role to a user, that user immediately was able to see US1 and US2, right? Even before we added a data role. I'm not sure how many of you still remember that issue. But
I do remember.
Yeah, that was because somebody edited that human resource specialist role. They went into data security policy and they have added a security policy that they have created there. Somebody called Kirtana created a security profile with US1 and US2 legal entity, and she added it directly here. That's why the moment I assign a HR specialist role, all the HR specialists would be able to see US1 and US2. But usually we don't change anything here. And the only thing that we wanted to achieve in this custom role, we've already done it. We wanted to take out a couple of pages, few pages. We have taken one as an example. And here you would be able to see the role hierarchy, what roles have been inherited by whom. All this is okay. And here you would be able to see, when you create a custom role itself, we have an option to assign the role to the user directly. After you create a role, you can go to users tab, edit the user, add the role. You can do it that way. Or even from the role creation itself, we can search for a specific user and you can add it as well. Or if the role is already assigned to some users, you can also delete it as well. I'm not going to do the role assignment here. I'll just click on next. And here you will be able to see a summary. Since I'm customizing a standard role, what is the only change that we have done here, guys? In all the screens, what's the only change that we have done?
Function security.
We have removed one privilege. We go ahead and submit and close. And the moment you submit it, what do you see, guys? The custom role is not created immediately. Instead, there is a process submitted in the background, and this is a process ID. And this particular process would take at least 5 to 10 minutes time. And only after that process is done, you would be able to see the custom role showing up. And where do you see that? Where can you track the status of this job from? Where do you see the request running in Fusion Cloud application? Tools. I can go to schedule process and I can search for it. And when I go to schedule process, do I see this particular job here? What is the request ID? 1444295. Do we see that request ID here? Otherwise, what you can also do is you don't even have to come to this monitor process screen, guys. There is an option to monitor this. There is an option to monitor this directly from the administration tab. So remember this process ID 1444295, and I can go to the administration tab. In the administration tab, I can see the role status. And when I see the role status, it shows me the status of that role copy that I'm trying to do. You see, I created this one, right? The custom role, and you see that it is getting processed at the moment. And it usually takes 5 to 10 minutes, guys, for the role to be created, for this process to get over. And let's wait for the process to get over. And meanwhile, what we also do is there's one more thing that we're going to do. We would go ahead and search for that particular user. We would go ahead and search for that particular user. And we're going to edit it. And we will add a role. What's the role that we have created, guys? HSBC. We don't see that particular role at the moment. Let's wait for that process to complete. Then we will be able to see the custom role. We will assign that custom role. And we would take out this seeded role. And after that, we would try to log in as this employee again. And what is it that we should be able to see when we re-log in? We should not be seeing the volunteering page. That would give us a confirmation that what we did has worked. And
one question, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah, for example, if a person has more than one role, let's say two or three roles, if a business come and say that we don't want to see this specific page, so do we need to go and check each and every role where that page belongs to?
In that case, yes. In that case, what you need is a role comparison, right? You basically need to compare the roles so that you know which role gives access to what privilege, and we'll come to that in a moment.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just a small doubt, Prasad. Can you go to that second tab?
Can we do it this way, guys? Just bear with me for 15 more minutes, please. 15 more minutes. And then I'll take the questions. Because I just want 2 or 3 more topics to be covered. And then we do the detailed question and answers. Because whatever I'm going to explain now, right, that might already clear your doubt as well. Okay?
Yeah, okay, Prasad.
Yeah. Now I go to users here. Now when you search for a specific user, and when you search for a specific user, you click on the username, you see some options that are available here. I don't think I should be explaining these options to you, right? All are self-explanatory. Please let me know if anybody is not able to understand any of these options. What does a log account means? It would explicitly log the account. From that point onwards, user will not be able to log in. And if you want to reset the password, you can go ahead and reset it using this option. You can go ahead and reset the password. And when you reset it again, you can automatically generate it or you can manually change it. The common self-explanatory options. And we also have option to delete the user, compare the users, and copy the user. When does copy user comes into picture, guys? Sometimes what might happen is you might be creating users for implementation team, and you might take a lot of effort to create one user, assign all the required roles, data roles, etc. And you need to quickly create another user for another implementation consultant, but more or less with the same access. So instead of you spending 30 minutes to create the second user from scratch again, you have a user with say 50 or let's say you have this user like HCM IMPL 20, and what do you see? When you go to this particular user, you would notice that this user has a lot of roles already assigned. So when you have already taken when you have already spent effort to get one user profile right, and if you want to quickly create a second user with the same roles and privileges, instead of creating it from scratch, what is it that we can quickly do? We can make a copy of that user. And when you make a copy of that user, whatever privileges, roles, and everything that is available in HCM IMPL 20 user, that same would be copied over. That same would be copied over to this particular copy role. What would happen? You see another user is getting created, right? So you say HCM IMPL 20. I can just make a copy of it, and everything gets copied over. So if you want to quickly replicate a user, maybe duplicate it, you can make use of this. And there's one more option which says compare user. And this would come really handy, guys. Sometimes what would happen, you might be asked to debug a security related issue. And what's the issue that you need to debug? So a user might say, client might say, one user is able to see one screen, but another user is not able to see that screen. So you need to debug it and see why one user is able to see one specific screen, whereas other user is not able to. How do we do it, guys? The first thing, what is the first thing that we need to do? We can search for those two users here. Let's say we need to understand why Curtis VT is able to see something. I'm just picking up two fictional users here, whereas Brian Joseph is not able to see that. Okay, so when you compare the users here, okay, I'm going to pick up any user. Yeah, looks like somebody renamed it. That's okay. Somebody renamed it to Brian Line Manager. So you can pick and choose two users here, and you go ahead and compare it. And when you compare it, what would happen is a quick comparison of the of the users would show you all the artifacts here, and you would be able to see whether that artifact or whether that privilege would be visible to the first user or the second user or both. Let's wait for the results to populate here. Or we should have probably kept it simple. We should have taken HCM user 1 and HCM user 2. That would have been more simpler. Okay. I think it's taking quite a bit of time. Let's go ahead and quickly search for it again. Because these two users have quite a few roles assigned, and since it's trying to do a comparison with all the things, or let me do it this way. I'll change it to only in first user. So the point I'm trying to prove here is when you put in two users here, and if you say only in first user, you would be able to see only the artifacts that would be visible to the first user, not to the second one. And if your client is saying that one user is able to see few screens, but the second user is not able to see them, second user is not able to see few pages, you put in those users into the box here, and you say only in first user or only in second user. That would show you the artifacts, what artifacts are responsible for the first user to see them. And you see those artifacts, and you can pick up those artifacts, go to roles, and see which roles are giving access to that artifacts. And then you see what are the role differences that these users have. Okay, I think it's taking a bit of time. Okay, while we are waiting for that, we'll go ahead and check the role status here. You could see that this is complete now. So while we are waiting for that screen, we'll quickly validate the first one. You go to HCM IMPL2 now, and I'll edit it. I'm going to take off the seeded employee role, and I'm going to assign HSBC employee role. Go ahead and click on Save and Close. And I would go ahead and quickly run the same job as well. What would user 2 should be able to see now, guys? He should not be able to see them. He should not be able to see the volunteering now. Okay, looks like the job is already running. So we go ahead. At the moment, he's seeing volunteering because the seeded role is assigned. If I go ahead and take it off, do you see volunteering, guys, now? We don't see it, right? It is taken off. That's because we have customized the seeded role. And that's because we have customized the seeded role and we have assigned that custom role here to the user. So this is how you can achieve it. And we'll go back to the role comparison. Oh, sorry, the user comparison first when we click on compare users. And let me compare HCM user 1 with, HCM user 2 with HCM user 1 so that it will be an easy comparison. Click on OK and click on compare. And what you would be seeing now, guys, it would compare these two users now. And you should be able to see the differences. You should be able to see all the artifacts, and you should also see which screens are visible to first user and which screens are visible to the second user. We'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes here. And what do you see, guys, here? So you see that this particular role, whatever you see here, the artifacts, HSBC employee and all that. So this is available only in user 2, but not in user 1. So this way, what you can do, guys, you can quickly check, what are the roles or what are the screens that user 1 is able to see, but not 1. And you can pick up that particular role. So that would, the user comparison would tell you the role differences. User comparison would tell you the role differences here. And you can also say, so tell me something that is available only in the first user. And the moment I do that, what do you see? You will be able to see, I think it is still processing it, and you would be able to see only the tasks, only the roles that are available in user 2, but not user 1. And if you say only in second user, you will be able to see that in second user, we have a HR specialist role, but not user 1, but not user 2 has it. And all the HR specialist role privileges, you will be able to see it here. So if you want to do a user comparison, this would help. And a similar comparison functionality is also available is also available in the roles as well. One of you asked just now, right? You said, Prasad, can we compare two roles and figure out what is giving access to what, right? So how do you do it? You can go ahead and say human resource specialist. And what you can also do is otherwise, you can pick up employee role. Or what you can do is, you can pick up a human resource specialist role. You can pick up human resource specialist role. Okay. And you can go ahead and compare roles. And when you compare roles, what do you want to compare it with? Say, for example, another user has maybe a human resource analyst role, not a specialist. So you go ahead and search for that particular role, click OK, and we can compare. And what do you see now? You can see the same story. For our roles also, you see the same comparison. You can see only the privileges that are available in the first one, or only the privileges available in the second one, or privileges available in both, or you see that all the differences. And this is again going to take quite a bit of time because you have a lot of privileges within them. But this way you can do a role comparison or a user comparison whenever you have to debug a security related issues. And another important thing that you need to understand is, so whenever you create a user, there is a user category that you are selecting here. And this user category that you select here is going to control few things. Now, what does it control, guys? Let's say HCM. Let me use HCM and let me say user 3 here. I say HCM, I say user 3. And the moment I tab out, what do you see, guys? I see HCM.user3. How is a username getting generated in this particular fashion, guys? Who has told HCM that I want the username to be generated as first name dot last name? Anyone? Where is that coming in from?
It has been defined in a user category.
In user category. So whatever user category that you choose here, that user category would control few things there. So let's go into security console and you go into user category. You see that there's a default user category, and the user category you can edit it. And here you would be able to see the username generation rule, and it is mentioned as first name dot last name. And that's precisely why when I entered HCM user 3, it is created as HCM.user3. And it also says generate system username when generation rule fails. So what does this mean, guys? What does this mean is, if I change it to HCM user 2, so when I say 3, it is generating HCM.user3, right? But when I change it to 2, what is happening, guys? It is saying HCM.a.user2. Why is it putting a .a in between? Can anyone guess, guys? Why is it putting .a in between?
Already an user exists on that?
Absolutely. We already have, remember, we just created a user with HCM.user2, right? We already created a user sometime back with first name as HCM, last name as user2. So there is already a user that exists with this particular name. And that is precisely why the moment you say user3, it is generating first name dot last name. But the moment you say HCM2, it is saying HCM.a.user2. So it is trying to generate a generate a system username. That is a system username that is getting generated with .a in between. Okay, that is one thing that user category controls. And another thing that user category controls is the password policy. And these are self-explanatory, right? So how many days or when should the password expire? Every 90 days. When should the warning be given to the user? Okay, so after 10 days, after 80 days, you should give them a warning, meaning 10 days before you give them a warning saying that your password is going to get expired. Okay. So that's okay. Token is something that you don't have to worry about. And you see password complexity. See, when I created a user, what is the password that I entered? What is the password that I entered, guys? I entered a password as welcome. I entered a password as welcome 123. And since we have 8 characters in it, and there is also one number, it is working. But we can also make it complex. We can also make it complex or very complex as well, or you can write your own custom rules. So this is like with the help of password complexity, clients can push their users to not have simple passwords like India @123 or Hyderabad @123. Instead, you push the users to have a complex passwords. Since it is simple, you need to have at least 8 characters and 1 digit. So when I say just welcome, so what does it say? It would say that it is not in line with the security policy. So this is a password policy that we have to use. So you need to, if I change this to a complex, there has to be at least one uppercase. And if I change it to very complex, there has to be at least one special character as well. And if you change it to custom, you can put your own custom policy there. So how complex password that users should, the client wants their users to set, and based on that you can choose these options. And disallow last password, what would happen is this is not checked here. When this is not checked, what does it mean? Disallow last password is not enabled, meaning I can use the same password again. Let's say my password would expire after 3 months, but I can use the same password. Tell me one thing is, for your internet banking, so for example, you use HDFC Bank. Every 3 months you would be forced to change the password. Can I use the same password, guys? Can we use the same password on the banking portals? What does it say? It say, hey Prasad, you have used it very recently, right? It should not be in the last used passwords. So depending on whether your client wants their users to use the same password, yes or no, you can decide whether you want to allow this or not. And administrator can manually reset the password. So only if this is enabled, only if that is enabled, you would be able to see the reset password option for administrators. Okay. And another thing that you see here is you see a notifications here. And remember, whenever you create a user, and when you mention an email there, the moment you create a user and save and close, you would be able to see a new account or new user created. A welcome email would be sent out to the user. Welcome email would have been sent out to the user. And when the welcome email is sent out, what would be the text that you would see in that email, guys? I believe I entered the email ID in one of the user, right? In one of the user, I believe we entered the email ID. Let me just try to see if I've received any notification email. Yeah. You see this one, guys? I created a user in a different instance. I created this user in a different instance, EVWB. Yesterday, when I was doing a different session, I created a user, and how does this email look like? It says Vision welcome email. Okay, that's a subject that we see. You can change it if you want. And you also see the message, and whatever message that you see here, this exact same message is what you see here. And what does it say, guys? Dear Fusion user 1, dear first name, last name. It says, and this is a line space. This is a line space. And it says, congratulations, your Fusion account has been successfully created. So whatever is a message that you see here, that same message you see here. Okay. And if your client wants to tweak it, you can do that as well. And you also have users. And if you're going to users, you would be able to see what are all the users created with that default user category. Okay. Now you have a default user category, and you can create a brand new user category if you want. And once you create a brand new user category, when you create a users, you can use that user category instead of default. Instead of default, you can use that user category. So you can go into user categories and you can say, I can name it as test, save and close. Would I be able to use this user category? You can use this, and whatever options that you have chosen here, and whatever options that you have chosen here, those options you would be able to see in those. And if you click on done, you go into users and you add a new user account, you would be able to see those two now. And if I create a user with this category, whatever options that you have selected in that user category would get defaulted here. Okay. Analytics, certificates, API, single sign-on, you can ignore them, guys. You don't have to really worry too much about it as a functional consultant. Any questions, guys, from anyone?
Prasad, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
This one additional category, can we make the username as email or employee number as a function a row? We can roll.
Of course. You can,
I didn't see the option.
When you edit it, you can use email address
okay.
itself as a username. And when you do that, what would happen? I go back and try to create a user with that.
Yes, it's clear.
And what is it that you should see? You should be, I think I've selected the default one, and you change it to test. You see whatever email that you enter, that email would be.
Yeah, sure. It's okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, one more thing. Are we discussing later this auto provision of the user account, or?
When we create an employee, at that time itself, a user would be created automatically, and we'll talk about it when we do the global picture.
Okay, one last question. The copy, delete, and compare. This delete will purge the account fully from the database, or?
Correct. Purge it.
Okay, if I want to personalize that, only access from the one of the user, can we do that? And through the privilege.
I didn't get it. Can you repeat it?
For example, if I'm giving an access to one of the key users of the organization, this IT manager access, right? What is the role we're discussing?
So
I don't want to give an access to the delete with the play, to play on the delete button. So I can personalize the delete, right?
First of all, the access of this particular screen, the security console screen itself, would be given to 3 or 4 users on the client side.
Okay.
Forget about restricting it within the page.
So that is not possible, by the way. So only one is not possible to personalize, right?
No, you cannot do that.
Okay.
Because if
can
you
I
have
ask you one
again, what is it that you can do again? You can see what is the role giving access to this particular privilege, and within this one, you see if there is something that we can see and take out the options. But we normally don't do it.
So, okay, basically, it's not possible to personalize at least one from that list, correct? No. Okay, the suffix is mandatory when creating the role. It's not required, right?
Not mandatory. Not required. Since there is a suffix, I added a prefix. That's it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fine.
Any other questions, guys, from anyone?
Yes, sir. Can you show me the navigation which you opened right now? Yeah. Can you move to the left? Left. Okay. So.
Okay.
My client group. My client group.
Okay.
Can you scroll down? Can you click on this button?
This one you are saying. Okay.
Yes, sir. Here, if you enable something here or else disable something here, then it will be that will not
be visible. That will not be visible to that particular user.
So
say under me, you see personal information. Is it enabled now?
It is not enabled.
Let me cancel it. You're going to me. Do I see personal information?
No.
I don't see it. I click on plus icon.
Okay.
You enable it.
Okay.
Save and close.
Yeah.
You see it.
So it means you are just enabling and disabling. That's
Correct.
it. It's not like you are deleting that privilege from the.
No. That is not the case. Because in Simulate Navigator, right? If you have to delete it, you need to customize the role and add that customized role there.
Okay. So it's not like deleting. You are just enabling and disabling from the page itself. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. Is one more question, Prasad. Just giving first name and last name, you are getting the username, right?
Correct.
We can even create using first name and last name email ID as well.
Not see, there are some standard options that we have. You have to use one of them. And what are the standard options that we see? We see only these are the options that we see: either first name dot last name, or email, or person number, or a first letter from the first name and the last name.
You can just use this category for the username itself, not for email, right?
No, you I mean within the user category. So when you want a username to be generated automatically, you need to use one of these.
I mean, see, my first name is like Sheikh Roshan. Okay, so if I want, if I give first name Sheikh and then Roshan, then if I click tab, then in email it should be like Sheikh Roshan @xyz.
No, you cannot. Company. See, this can only generate username. This cannot generate the email.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.